If you want the chance to win up to $500 in Bass Pro Shops gift cards, stay tuned. At Panmunjom, North and South Korea were separated by only a short stretch of ground. For a North Korean soldier, crossing it was supposed to be impossible. At about 3:20 p.m. on November 13, 2017, a North Korean military jeep entered the joint security area and drove toward the boundary. When stuck in the mud, he jumped out and ran. Guards behind him raised their weapons. By then, their only chance to stop him was to open fire. Rounds followed him across the compound. Some struck him, but he reached the southern side and collapsed among the fallen leaves beside a low concrete barrier. South Korean soldiers did not return fire. They remained behind cover, watching the northern positions while he lay where he had fallen for more than half an hour. Nobody knew if he would survive. Whatever happened next, the Military Demarcation Line was behind him. Since its creation more than 70 years ago, after the Korean War, the Korean Demilitarized Zone has remained one of the world's most heavily fortified borders. If military history fascinates you, Medal Hunter lets you step into battlefields inspired by some of history's most famous conflicts, put your battle skills to the test, and compete for a chance to win a $500 Bass Pro Shops gift card. Medal Hunter is a free military shooting game for iOS and Android that puts an entire arsenal of heavy weapons at your disposal. Track aircraft through the sky with anti-air flak, calculate the trajectory of artillery arcs, or slow things down and hunt for the perfect shot with sniper precision. There's no auto-aim to fall back on, so timing, anticipation, and accuracy determine whether your round finds its target. The deeper you get, the more there is to master. Collect gunner cards, unlock and upgrade new weapons, develop your haven, and battle your way up the leagues and club rankings. Right now, Medal Hunter is giving away more than $30,000 in Bass Pro Shops gift cards. Reach location 2 to unlock your first giveaway spin. Then hit locations 4, 7, and 9 for additional spins. Copy your player ID, head to mh-challenge.com, and spin the wheel to reveal your prize. Download Medal Hunter for free. Use code DARKFOOTAGE to claim your exclusive welcome package and enter before September 13th. Then come back and tell us what you won in the comments. Moments earlier, the North Korean guards had watched the same man approach in one of their own military vehicles without treating him as a threat. He was one of them, and his name was Oh Chong Song. At 24, he'd spent roughly 8 years in the North Korean military, including time as a driver inside the joint security area. His father reportedly held a 1-star rank, and Oh described his family as relatively comfortable. He was not fleeing poverty, and his assignment had already placed him inside the defenses guarding the border. Still, military service had shown him the poverty and cruelty beneath the system. Oh recalled knowing a soldier in the countryside who survived on as few as 5 boiled potatoes a day. The man entered a village to steal food. When a civilian caught him, he shot the man and burned the body, rather than risk being reported to his commanders. Oh had seen how hunger could lead to one desperate act, then fear of punishment to another. Despite his own relatively privileged upbringing, he later said he had become, quote, starving for freedom. On November 13th, that dissatisfaction collided with an immediate crisis. Oh had been drinking heavily and had become involved in trouble, although the exact circumstances remain uncertain. According to Oh, he passed the checkpoint and realized that returning could bring severe punishment, possibly execution. He accelerated toward Panmunjom instead. Other reports connected his escape to an earlier incident in which another person lost their life, but those accounts remain disputed. What is clear is that his escape was not carefully prepared. Oh later said that even on that morning, he had no intention of going south. Everything depended on the few seconds before the checkpoint guards realized that the jeep was not going to stop. Oh came off the 72-hour bridge and approached the checkpoint at an ordinary speed. The jeep belonged to the North Korean military, and the man behind the wheel wore the same uniform as the guards watching the road. Nothing immediately marked him as a threat. Then Oh passed the stopping point without pulling over. Even then, the Jeep did not immediately surge forward. It continued at the same pace for another few seconds. Then Oh accelerated. The guard stationed at the checkpoint broke into a run behind him. By the time the others reacted, the Jeep was gathering speed deeper inside the joint security area. The entire dash through Panmunjom lasted about 2 minutes and covered roughly a kilometer, leaving the guards little time to understand what was happening. As Oh raced between the buildings, soldiers poured from their positions. Some chased the Jeep on foot. Others ran toward the road ahead, trying to cut him off before he reached the Military Demarcation Line. That advantage ended when the Jeep left the pavement and bogged down in the dirt. Oh floored the accelerator again and again, but the wheels only spun. When it became clear the vehicle was not getting out, he abandoned it and ran for the boundary. The soldiers around the compound scrambled to stop him. 4 North Korean soldiers opened fire with rifles and handguns. They fired roughly 40 rounds, the first shooting inside the joint security area since 1984. At least 5 bullets struck Oh. 1 round passed through his arm, while others caused severe wounds to his abdomen and internal organs. Oh later remembered feeling the blood spreading beneath his padded jacket, but he continued running. He crossed the Military Demarcation Line and collapsed only a short distance inside South Korean territory. During the pursuit, 1 North Korean soldier briefly followed him across the boundary before turning back. North Korean gunfire also crossed into South Korean territory. About 40 minutes after the crossing, a thermal imaging camera detected Oh's heat signature. He was hidden among the leaves beside the wall and did not respond when the South Vietnamese soldiers called to him. 2 South Korean soldiers crawled from cover toward him, while a third covered their movement. They reached Oh beside the wall, took hold of his arms, and pulled him back toward cover. By then, he was unresponsive and bleeding heavily. The escape was over, but his wounds remained immediately life-threatening. A U.S. Army Black Hawk lifted Oh from the border and carried him on a 25-minute flight south to Jeju University Hospital. During the flight, his blood pressure continued to fall. Army medics treated a collapsed lung by inserting a needle into his chest to relieve the pressure until the helicopter landed. Trauma surgeon Lee Cook-jung met the helicopter at the hospital landing pad. He found that Oh had lost close to half his total blood volume, and he was losing blood faster than the doctors could replace it. Lee later said, quote, "He was like a broken jar." Over the course of treatment, he received as much as 12 liters, roughly 25 pints of transfused blood. That was more than twice the amount normally circulating in an adult bloodstream. Doctors repaired at least 7 bullet perforations in his intestines. During the operation, they also discovered severe parasitic infection, including worms measuring up to 10.6 inches. After 2 decades treating severe trauma, Lee said he had seen comparable cases only in textbooks. Oh's condition deteriorated several times during the 6-hour emergency effort, and Lee later admitted he did not always expect him to survive. 2 days later, doctors operated again for more than 3 hours. Tuberculosis, hepatitis B, poor liver function, and the risk of infection further complicated his recovery. After 2 major operations, Oh regained consciousness in intensive care. He sometimes woke from nightmares, believing he was still in North Korea. At one point, he asked whether he had truly reached the South. To reassure him, Lee hung a South Korean flag where Oh could see it whenever he became confused. Oh later described this flag as one of the first clear signs that he had reached the South. By then, footage of his escape had spread around the world. Oh knew almost nothing about the attention. He was still relearning how to stand. Panmunjom was supposed to present the regime at its most controlled. Instead, a soldier escaped through one of the most closely observed points on the peninsula, with surveillance cameras recording the defection from several angles. Once the United Nations Command released the footage, North Korea could no longer keep the incident out of international view. The United Nations Command concluded that both the cross-border gunfire and the soldiers' brief incursion had violated the 1953 Armistice Agreement. It requested a meeting with North Korea and delivered the message 6 times over loudspeakers, but North Korea had not responded by the end of November. North Korea's only answer was to add new barriers along the escape route. South Korean reports indicated that the entire Northern Security Force at the Joint Security Area, roughly 35 to 40 guards, had been replaced. Within days, acting U.S. Ambassador to South Korea, Mark Napper, posted a photograph showing North Korean workers digging a trench near the place where Oh's jeep had become stuck. He also reported that 2 trees had been planted near the route, further restricting the path available to a vehicle. By January 2018, another gate had appeared farther up the road toward Panmunjom. 2 older gates that had normally stood open were now closed, and one had been fitted with wheel spikes. Meanwhile, Oh spent roughly 3 months recovering and answering questions from South Korean authorities. Years later, Oh said there were still parts he did not want to watch. As his condition improved, he continued to worry that his parents in North Korea could face punishment for what he had done. Using brokers in China who maintained telephone links near the North Korean border, Oh eventually contacted his family and confirmed that his parents were alive. Contact was possible, but a reunion was not. After completing South Korea's resettlement program for North Korean defectors, Oh found work on construction sites to support himself. He later said the job taught him how difficult it could be to earn a living in the South. Life in the South brought pressures he had never anticipated, but for the first time, he could decide what came next. Don't miss Medal Hunter's $30,000 Bass Pro Shops giveaway. Download the game for free. Use code DARKFOOTAGE to get your welcome package and enter for your chance to win a gift card before September 13th. Thanks again to Medal Hunter for sponsoring today's video.